It's all right already. It's not even out yet.
Let's go to the... No, I want to go to the treehouse.
Every time I go in the bathroom.
As many people do.
But essentially, they go to the treehouse.
I can't even make fun of it because that actually sounds quite good.
That's actually
Throw it against the wall and watch it crawl down.
Yeah. Hello everyone, welcome to another SMGH video. This is going to be our top 3 most anticipated games of 2021. The criteria for this were that they had to be standalone games, so this couldn't be new expansions and they couldn't be reprints or re-releases of old games. Those were the only criteria. So it did mean that 1 or 2 of us who were talking the other night had to rejig their lists. We're going to go through the lists, probably disagree quite vehemently. Might be some shouting, who knows? And then we're also going to have our honourable mentions.
There will be.
There'll be our number 3s, our number 2s, then our honourable mentions, and then our number 1s. So we'll go straight into it. Adam, your first number 3 is...
In 3.
Okay, so my number 3 just squeaked in. Straight away, I'll tell you the name. It is Merchant's Cove. It plays 1 to 4 in about 45 to 75 minutes. It's an asymmetric Euro game where you are basically you're taking control of a fantasy merchant looking to satisfy the demand of adventurers that want to spend their coin at what is the famous market piers. Okay, so the core of the game, the main part of the board is you have to manipulate the boats, putting certain adventurers on certain boats and then you kind of direct them to a certain pier, hiring staff. You're keeping an eye on the stock of other players' shelves because you literally have these little shelves where you put your items on there. So you're keeping an eye on what they've got, and it can be a bit cutthroat because obviously you can manipulate the boat to make sure that wherever it ends up, it doesn't help other people. So that in itself sounds interesting. Asymmetric, think along the lines of your vast and your root, whereas each player is playing their own game. Okay, so I'll just talk about the 4 core ones in the game. There's an alchemist. The alchemist is all about marble manipulation, engine building, and recipe fulfillment with moving these marbles around. There's a blacksmith. They're all about dice placement, dice manipulation, and pool building. There's a captain that has like this spinner. It has to move 4 different ships around. There's a bit of exploration on that one and push your luck to try and get what they need on the shelves. And then finally in the core box, there's a chronomancer, which is a tile sliding rondelle movement, Steve.
Oh, yeah, the rondelle in it.
With a time track manipulation. And each one of these also has like a variable complexity. So it's nice because if you're into that particular mechanism, you can play that character, but also if you're playing with maybe a non-gamer, you can say, okay, the captain might be the easiest, so we'll give that to you. So there's a couple of extra characters coming out. I'm not going to mention in the expansion as well, but it just sounds like if it were, well, I've heard it works very, very well, and I've heard that each one of these individual games could have been the main game for everybody, but the way they've done it works perfectly, and that's it's due April, May, so anytime it's due to be released.
Nice.
And I nearly backed that. I didn't. I think I backed out at the last minute, but because one of the expansions, I think, it's like a roll and write as well on it. And
there's a roll and write, and there's one as well where you throw bones like runes into this thing, and that's somehow I've not looked into them one, so I don't know how it works. But yeah, it looks proper cool.
Sounds cool.
But in terms of the balance, I mean, that's going to be tricky to make sure that each of the, it's the varying in complexity. How are they going to still maintain balance? If someone, say you're both the same level of gamer, how would someone playing an easier character compare to one with a more complex character?
That's from what I've seen review-wise, they've not said there's any unbalance. They've said it's a minor miracle that it all kind of pulls together well. So maybe it does work, but we'll find out soon enough.
Simple doesn't mean powerful. It might be a simple character to play, but it might not be super powerful. Yeah. This one, it's more tricky to pull off their special things, but their special things are awesome. It'll be balanced out that way. Cool. So that's Merchant's Cove, did you say?
Merchant's Cove, yeah.
Merchant's Cove. Awesome. All right, John.
Okay, my number 3. Feels a bit cold in here. It's got a bit chilly. It's got really chilly. It's that could be because of an endless winter Paleo Americans, which is a hybrid of a worker placement and deck building game set 10,000 BC with a tribe of Paleo Americans, and you're essentially through various actions competing to have the best habitat your area. So there's different sections. There's a worker placement section, and there is like a map section where you can build a little bit. They're like hexes, a little bit like Catan, and you can build. You start off with little tents, and you can build bigger sort of village structures on there, and you get resources depending where you are on there, and the village goes in between hexes, whereas the tents go on the hexes, and depending on who has the majority, you get the resources from that. And depending on the worker placement spaces have like 3 parts each one, and you can work your way down. You don't have to do every one, but each one has a cost. In some cases, there's a resource called work, and on your hand of cards you may play certain hand of cards and they have the work symbol on them. So say it costs 3 work, you play cards from your hand that add up to 3 work, for instance, to do one particular action. Or you can also spend food, which gives you another work, and things like that. And obviously the way you go through the game, you gain more cards, which obviously have more powerful and bigger amounts of resources on. You can also bury your cards, which allows you to thin your deck. So your earlier cards, which are less powerful, get buried, and they're worth points at the end. And there's also a little section where you're building megaliths, giant stone structures. And the way it works is a little bit like Imhotep on one of the, I think it's a temple, where you stack stones and then you stack the next ones, and it's the ones who the players who are the highest on there get a certain multiplier. And there's also flora and fauna from those times, Paleolithic times. Can't quite remember what exactly they do, but again, they form part of your deck. And you use, it's a hunting action rather. It's a hunting action that you take, and you can then access these creatures. You can either kill them for meat, or you can keep them to go into your deck. So it's quite an interesting little game. It's shipping imminently, I believe. Yes. So yeah, coming out soon. Endless Winter, Paleo Americans.
Loves the deck builder.
Don't love a deck builder.
What world needs
What are you
a deck
laughing
builder?
What are you laughing at? Deck builders.
You said deck builder and Catan, so that's, I don't know. It's not for me.
I'm out. It's got 2 things I hate: deck building and Catan.
I'm not disagreeing because I backed it as well. So, you know.
Oh, there you go.
The moment you said it has hexes, and you have villages between the hexes and tents on the hexes, and whoever has the majority, if he then gets through, I was like, that sounds far too much like Catan. I'm out.
Well, we'll see. It's getting a lot of good buzz, and some of the best gamers in the group are also backed it. So,
in fairness, I think on the BGG top anticipated, it was in the top. It was in the top few, I think, if I remember rightly.
It was. Yeah.
It might have even been number 1, but I'm not. Don't call me on that. But no, it was in the top few.
A lot of Catan love on BGG. You know, so.
I honestly don't think. I don't want people to get distracted thinking it is very much like Catan. That is a part of it in the same way as the terrain board in Tapestry is a part of the whole game of Tapestry. It's not the whole thing, it's just a part of it, as much as the megalithic stuff is. I think at its heart, it's deck building and worker placement.
Cool. All right. Jay?
Yeah, so I'd struggle a little bit with my number 3 because I was kind of, it was a toss-up between a game that I kind of really fancied the game, but it was kind of similar to a lot out there, or a game which I didn't know whether I was going to like the game, but it's the gimmick of it that's really caught me. So I've gone with the latter, and it's a game called Beyond Humanities Colonies that I backed on Kickstarter. It's been a couple of years. I think it was 2018 that it was backed. But basically, it's really unique. It uses an app, and you have a map. You're building a colony, You start with, it's got like this little tower, which is your first module. The module connects via Bluetooth to your map. And then as you're developing all the cards in it, I've got NFC what do you call them, chips in it. And if you complete a decree, which you've got these little decree cards that change the way the game works, you just scan it on the little module and it updates everything on the app to kind of change the colony. When you're building like a module, like if you build like a residential area, you connect it into the main module and then it starts flashing green to say it's being built, and it's only when it stops flashing it's actually built. On the app itself, they said they've got 700,000 planets that you can play. They're all simulated to simulate how a real colony would work. So it's not random, it's all done through maths. They've got like a meta game going on in the background as well, which I don't know a lot about, not read a lot about, but basically you can influence other players around the world who are playing the game, influence their colonies, you can join up with them, trade with them. So it just seems like there's a lot going on. Might not exactly be my type of game, but I'm kind of really looking forward to it coming out, hoping that it'll come out. I know there's been a bit of a little bit more of a delay on it, but I think it's still planning on delivering this year. So
Cool.
Sounds really interesting, that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one on Kickstarter. And it did look like it was very, very cool the way they've got it all working. So if it hits, it could really hit.
I'm not saying whether I backed it just off the coolness rather than the game, but
What he did.
what I did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Steve.
Okay, I mean, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy 19th century capitalists building their industrial corporations, okay? As many people do, okay? But I've chosen a game regarding that very subject, shockingly enough. It is called Furnace, number 3. 2 to 4 players, plays in a delightful 30 to 60 minutes. So, yeah. And it's midweight, and it's now available on pre-order, so
Nice.
get your orders in, guys. Obviously, after I've just explained how amazing it is. So what it is it's a lovely auction engine building game based around a 19th century capitalists. So, well, could you ask for more? I don't think you could. So, basically, you get 4 discs, number 1 to 4, and you bid on how much you want a particular card in a sort of a card which gives you different resources. And those cards, then you will, whoever bids the most will get that card to use in their production for their engine. But if you bid for that card and get outbid, you still get a sort of some resources there to spend to produce your production and get points and money and those kinds of things. So once everyone's bid and they've got their cards, they then put those cards into production, and then you can again produce money to upgrade your cards. And when upgraded cards give you more resources, which give you more points, which give you more money. And at the end, whoever's got the most money wins. So if you want capitalism, you want the 19th century, you want 30 to 60 minutes, most importantly, you want Furnace.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, for you. Like a good fit for you, Steve.
In fairness, I have heard good things about it. A lot of people have been talking about it. So.
Is it furnace as in burning or furnace as in barrowing furnace?
It's both, isn't it?
I think.
It's both. They're spelled differently.
They're both spelled the same, aren't they?
No,
they're not.
Yes, they are.
It's burning, as in if you don't like the game, you just burn it at the end.
Okay.
And the best thing about it, though, is it burns in 30 to 60 minutes.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
So,
Temperature type, keeping your room warm. Right, brilliant. Furnace, thank you. My number 3 is one that you can play with your family if you have kids. Obviously, in lockdown, we've all been stuck in, and I've had to play more board games with the kids than I would have liked. Not that it's not fun, but sometimes you want to play like something a bit heavier. But anyway, my number 3 is definitely one you can play with the kids, and it's called Sticky Cthulhu by Yellow Games, the people who gave us King of Tokyo and King of New York. Sticky Cthulhu, and basically what you have is you all get a little sticky tentacle. You roll a die which has a symbol for a particular kind of monster on it, one of the old ones from Lovecraft lore, and you have to use your tentacle to stick that monster, get it to your play area without getting caught by an investigator, and then it gets harder as it goes on because those cold ones give you curses and you have to do various different things while you're trying to stick the monsters. But basically, it plays up to 5 players, 2 to 5 players, age 6 and up, plays in 15 minutes, obviously. So if you've got kids, it's perfect for them. And you're basically sticking things with a tentacle. No. Sticky.
There's a whole niche section of that in Japan, isn't there?
Oh yeah,
thing with the tentacles.
Absolutely. So that was in succinctly number 3, sticky tentacles, sticky.
I hope it comes with spare tentacles though, because when you used to have one of them and they used to get covered in like hair or something.
Them octopuses.
You stick it to the wrong thing, it's game over.
It's going to be horrible,
or it'd stick to the roof or something and it'd leave a mark for the rest of time.
At the end of the game, you throw it against the wall and watch it crawl down.
Yeah.
You should do. Add that as the end game.
Yeah. So I think we know who picked the best number 3 there.
Well, yeah, we do. We know that. Yeah.